Now, I know your brain has probably gone all haywire after hearing all the discussions on a union budget. But what we'll try and do here on Urban Debate is break it down for you to focus on the most important part of Nirmala Sitharaman's budget speech, which is taxes. Will you have more money in your pocket this year or not? Big question. We are opening up our phone lines on the show tonight. You can call in and ask questions to our expert who is joining us on the show, Monika Halal, just about getting seated. So our phone lines are flashing on your screens. In fact, I'm going to request our producers to just put out our phone lines once again so that our viewers know where to call. So any confusion you have about the new tax slabs, about new rates, old, the new regime, old regime, any questions at all, as long as you stick to taxes, that's Monika Halal for you. Do call us. She'll answer all your questions. But first, let's listen in to the Finance Minister.
I propose to change the tax structure in this regime by reducing the number of slabs to 5 and increasing the tax exemption limit to 3 lakhs. The new tax rates are 0 to 3 lakh, nil. 3 to 6 lakhs, 5%. 6 to 9 lakhs, 10%. 9 to 12 lakh, 15%. 12 to 15 lakhs, 20%. And above 15 lakhs, 30%. Currently, those with income up to 5 lakh do not pay any income tax in both old and new regimes. I propose to increase the rebate limit to 7 lakh in the new tax regime.
Okay, so you heard the minister. Now, hear the explanation. The government clearly wants people to use the new tax regime, which is why they have announced major tax cuts and rebates for people who opt for the new tax regime only. Earlier, the new tax regime had 6 different slabs. They have been brought down to 5. If your income is below 3 lakh rupees, your tax rate is 0. If it's between 3 lakh and 6 lakh, your tax rate is 5%. 6 to 9 lakhs is 10%, 9 to 12 is 15%, 12 lakh to 15 lakh is 20%, and above 15 lakhs is 30%. Right now, the income tax rebate limit is 5 lakh rupees. What does a rebate mean? It's basically a refund on the tax you have paid. Assume your tax deducted at source or TDS is 40,000 rupees. But your actual tax liability is only 30,000 rupees. You have a lot of insurance premiums and investments that qualify as deductions on your income. In such a case, you're eligible for a tax rebate. Until now, that income tax rebate limit was 5 lakh rupees. But the finance minister has raised it to 7 lakh rupees now. Okay, in other words, if your income is 7 lakh rupees or less, your income tax is nil. You don't have to pay any taxes. But what if you earn more than 7 lakh rupees? Okay, so let's assume your annual income is 9 lakh rupees. Under the new system, you will be paying 45,000 rupees as tax. If you do the math, it comes to around 5%. If your income is 15 lakh rupees, then you must pay 1.5 lakhs as tax, which is around 10% of your income. And if you earn more than 15 lakh rupees, you must still pay 30% as tax, both in the old and the new regime. The only change is in the surcharge levied on high net worth individuals. They used to pay 37%, now they will pay 25%. The government is hoping to achieve 2 broad objectives with these tax cuts. One is to put more money in the hands of the middle class and upper middle class. To make sure that these people spend more, if they have more, they'll spend more, and it will revive overall consumption, which is a good thing for the economy. And 2, to nudge more people towards the new tax regime. Remember, the new tax regime was introduced in the last budget session. The upside of this regime is lower tax rates. The downside is fewer exemptions. The old regime has a lot more deductions than the new regime, which is why many people still prefer it. The finance minister has made the new regime the default one, but the old one, just by the way, will continue as well. Listen in to what she said in that regard.
We want to make the new tax regime, which is without exemptions,
attractive enough for people to think that this will be the best option for them because it gives them better rates. It doesn't also make the compliance a burdensome exercise. If rates are so low, you're going to benefit net by paying lesser tax. Even those exemptions that you would have otherwise gained from would have resulted in probably net amount being the same. So we made this a lot more attractive. But if there are people who still think that being in the exemption regime, which is the old regime, benefits them, they're welcome to continue where they want.
Monika Halal is one of India's best known personal finance experts. She's joining us on the broadcast. Monika, thank you very much for your time and your patience both. I know it's been a busy day for you. Can you just quickly take in 3 callers, because people want some clarifications, and it's great that you've agreed to do this for us. Let's take a caller from Vadodara. Santosh is calling us. Santosh, hi, good evening. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening to all of you. My query is, I'm a salaried employee, and somewhere down the line in the income tax rules, it says that you need not pay income tax on any tax that you have already paid. Correct? So my query is, when we are paying GST, why should that amount be included for income tax?
Monika, go ahead.
I didn't hear the question properly. There's a little bit of a lag, yeah?
Yeah, I'll repeat. I am a salaried employee.
Okay.
And, whenever I purchase any goods or appliances or anything, or avail any service, I am being forced to pay GST on that. Now, there is a rule in the income tax which says that double taxation is to be avoided, and tax on tax that you have already paid should not be applicable. So logically, on any GST amount
Correct.
that I pay, income tax should not be applicable. Correct?
Yeah.
So can you please clarify on this?
Okay, Monika, go ahead.
In the sense that, so, I think we are mixing up direct and indirect taxes here. So it is only after taxation that there is money available to spend. And on that spending, there is a tax called the GST. When you buy goods and services, you end up paying that. I mean, that is the tax regime of India and for most of the world. So, I don't know what exact provision that you are referring to, but I don't think you can take that route to escaping either income tax or GST. And unfortunately, for a salaried person, when you add both of those up, it does end up being, about 30 to 35% of your income does go out as taxes, because GST does tend to add a lot of tax burden, especially on the high rate items, typically the luxury items. Back to you, Shreya.
Thank you so much. Manish is calling us from Dehradun. Manish, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. See, in the new tax regime, it is being stated that the taxpayers need not pay anything up to 7 lakh of income, right? So can you explain it, how it is possible? Because it is stated that 0 to 3 lakh is nil, and then 3 to 6 lakh is 5%, then so on and so forth. So can you please do that for me?
Was earlier, all that this rule is saying is that if your total taxable income is 7 lakh, then you pay 0 tax. All right. But if you earn more than 7 lakh, then the first 3 lakh of your income attracts nil tax, and then it is a slab rate. So this is exactly the way the earlier tax system also worked, is that you get a rebate on the tax you would have paid if your income earlier was 5 lakh, and now in the new tax regime, it does not cross 7 lakh. So I think a lot of people are confused about this. Is it 3 lakh or is it 7 lakh? You should not be earning more than 7 lakh to actually pay 0 income tax. But should you earn more than that, then the 0 to 3 is nil, 3 to 6, that slab level takes over.
Amitabh is our next caller. He's calling us from Pune. Amitabh, please go ahead. Good evening.
Hey, hi. Good evening. So my question to Monica is, see, I'm an IT professional, so in a senior position. So the problem is I'm always confused now between, I was watching all the channels, between the new tax regime and the old. So I'm still in old tax regime because I have some investments. So I was getting benefits, home loan and other mediclaims and everything. So now the thing is the 7 lakh benefit is only for new tax regime. So I just wanted to understand, if I'm falling in 30% tax bracket, would it make sense if I still have investments also? So ATC, ATD, everything. So will it make sense to shift to new tax regime? Will it save tax?
Amitabh, it will purely depend on the deductions that you're claiming. Because if you are claiming all of the deductions, HRA, home loan, medical, ATC, NPS, then possibly you will be better off in the old regime. But there are people, for instance, people who have paid off their home loans. They are not taking that deduction of the home loan at all. And there are people who are not in a sort of an organized sector job. They are gig workers, typically the young. They don't avail of a lot of benefits like HRA, etc. So for them, it makes sense to move to the new tax regime. But you will actually have to sit and do the numbers to see specifically what kind of deductions you are availing right now. And should it make sense for you to move, then you can move. Otherwise, maybe wait a few more years. My sense is they will have to make the new tax regime more attractive because the difference between the marginal rate of corporates, which is 25%, 25.17, and for individuals, it's still 39%. So my hunch is that the next few budgets, we'll see a rationalization of the top rates even for individuals. So possibly in the next few years, you could move to an easier compliance regime rather than what this web of exemptions, deductions, and rebates is, Amitabh.
Okay. Monica, our next caller is from Mumbai, I think. Nitin. Hi, Nitin. Good evening. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Nitin Madlani from Mumbai. Yeah, my question is, I'm from...
Okay, Nitin.
My question is...
Nitin, you know what you need to do? You need to switch off the volume of your television set so that we can hear you better.
Okay.
Why don't you just switch off the volume of your television set so that we can hear you better,
Yeah,
Nitin?
already switched off. The
Yeah,
question is,
all right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nitin. Now ask your question.
Capital gain tax on property. If I sell a house, is there any change in the capital gains tax
Your question is that... Yes,
is there a change in the capital tax gains
and this
as far as
typically,
property is
Nitin,
concerned? Yeah.
So this is actually aimed at the very high net worth real estate investors who would flip properties. And there is a provision that if you invest in another property within a certain time, then your entire profit is tax-free. They give you a boost to buy something new. That limit is now rupees 10 crore, right? So it is actually applicable to the very high net worth, super rich investors who were using this to constantly flip the properties. To most middle class, even HNI investors, it makes no difference at all. But they're trying to cap the misuse of certain provisions of the tax laws, the insurance, for instance, and this flipping of high value properties for the super rich. So I think for most people, it makes no difference.
Okay. Next caller from Calicut. Rajendra, you're calling us from Calicut. Go ahead. Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, madam. I just have one doubt regarding the insurance premium being paid, life insurance premium being paid. What I find is that from 5 lakhs onwards, any payment of premium paid, I think The section 1010D is not applicable. That is what has told to me. So is it correct? And how to go about that?
So, Rajendran, the fact is that life insurance policies which have been bundled with investments have actually not done very well for investors. They've been used by extremely high net worth individuals for getting that benefit of exempt, when you get your money back, you don't have to pay tax on it. There's no capital gains. So the provision is if your premium is more than 5 lakh rupees, then there is a tax on exit. So suppose you have an endowment plan and 50 lakh is coming back to you at the end of the period. That 50 lakh then gets added to your income and you pay tax at your marginal rate. So again, the purpose of this is to prevent high net worth people from using this tax-free route to getting to using this insurance route to get tax-free money at a later date. If you actually buy a term insurance plan, it is not very expensive. The premium is not going to be in lakhs at all. It will be in a few thousands. So for people who are buying sensible life insurance, which is a term plan only, it makes no difference at all. And I think there's a nudge from the government to do away with products which are bundling insurance and investment in a manner where neither do you get good life insurance cover and neither do you get good returns, which is the case of most traditional plans. So for most people, again, it makes no difference. Only the super HNI, there is a problem for them.
Okay, another caller, Monika from Chandigarh, I think. Is it Chandigarh? Yes. Ankit. Hi, Ankit. Good evening. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I'm a hotelier. My question is regarding the hospitality industry. As we all very aware, because of COVID, we had very bad times. So in this particular budget, in a layman language, did we get anything? Are there any incentives?
You know, Ankit, I will take a broader picture view that a budget and a continuation of capital expenditure to trigger growth in any budget is going to raise the level of economic activity. So if a budget goes for growth, that means jobs, output, jobs, more opportunity means more income, which means more people traveling. So your hospitality industry is going to benefit indirectly through the overall growth which gets triggered. The 91 reforms had created such a giant wave of growth that a whole cohort, an age group of people who were, at that time entering the workforce or already there, all benefited. Something similar, I'm predicting, will happen in India in the next 2 to 5 years. And the entire hospitality industry, you should be poised for a big takeoff, because if you noticed, they also spoke about identifying certain places of tourist interest and getting them to become world-class places. So if the gaze of both central and I'm hoping some state governments does turn onto getting India more tourist-friendly, it is only good news for hospitality industry.
In fact, you're right. There are 50 destinations that the government is saying that they are going to identify to develop into, world-class destinations. It has been a fairly wide-ranging budget. Right. I think we can take one final caller, ladies and gentlemen. We are running out of time. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, all I wanted to tell Ankit is that the Indian hospitality services are world-class. You have to travel across the world to understand how fantastic our service sector is. So once we get this piece right, nothing really can stop us. That was my only last comment to Ankit.
Okay. Do we have time to take a last caller? Let's take Vinay, who's calling us from Noida. Hi, Vinay. Good evening. Please go ahead. Vinay, we can't hear you. Vinay, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear
Absolutely.
me?
Go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted a small question. This tax slabs, new tax slabs regime she has given, is it logged out to the defense people and the lawmakers also? Lawmakers.
It's for
Monica, would
everybody.
you have an
Whoever is eligible
answer to that
pay
question? Is it
tax.
applicable to?
No.
Exactly. I would.
No.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, there are no. Look, there are exempt incomes, like agriculture income is exempt, but there is no provision in the tax laws which says that if you're a government servant or you are a lawmaker or you're a defense person, that you pay either no tax or a different level of tax. So this is going to be paid by whoever is eligible to pay taxes.
Okay, we've done Noida. We have to do Gurgaon as well, Monica. So I keep saying last, but this I promise you is our last caller. Ved Prakash ji, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Good evening, ma'am. Hello.
Good evening, Ved Prakash ji. सवाल पूछिए. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
I had crossed 80.
मैम हमारी एज बाबूजी की एज 80 प्लस
बोलिए वेद प्रकाश जी.
बाबूजी
अच्छा.
की एज 80 प्लस क्रॉस है, तो हम जानकारी लेना चाह रहे थे इनकम टैक्स में लगेगा क्या?
अच्छा, ठीक है, पूछ लेते हैं मोनिका जी से. मोनिका,
तो
सवाल ये है, माय फादर इज 80 years old.
नहीं,
इनकम टैक्स लगेगा,
तो
लगेगा तो कम लगेगा, ज्यादा लगेगा?
माय फादर इज ऑलमोस्ट 87. वो भी टैक्स देते हैं. जिसके पास क्षमता है टैक्स देने की, कोई भी एज या कोई भी जेंडर हो, वो सब टैक्स देते हैं. और ये एज के साथ कोई लेना देना नहीं है इनकम का या टैक्स का. कुछ लोग जो बूढ़े भी होते हैं, उनके पास भी काफी धन होता है, तो थोड़ी सी उनके जो 80 प्लस है, उनका जो ओल्ड टैक्स रेजिम है उसमें रेट कम है. पर ऐसा नहीं है कि आप एक एज को क्रॉस करेंगे तो आप टैक्स फ्री हो जाएंगे. आप अपने आप सोचिए कि जो सुपर रिच है, जो जिनके पास करोड़ों रुपया धन है, अगर वो एक एज को क्रॉस करे तो हम ही लोग कहेंगे कि उनको भी टैक्स देना चाहिए. तो जब टैक्स की पॉलिसी बनती है तो वो देख नहीं सकती कि कौन उस एज के बाद देने की क्षमता रखता है कि नहीं. वो डिपेंड करेगा कि आपकी टैक्सेबल इनकम का लेवल क्या है. तो हाँ, टैक्स तो देना ही पड़ेगा अगर इतनी इनकम है तो.
लेकिन मोनिका, there is something for the elderly, for the senior citizen in this budget as well.
That's right. That is, of course, that is there. So what they've done is they've doubled the amount that you can invest in the senior citizen scheme, which is giving 8% return. So from 15 lakh, it's gone to 30. And the post office monthly income scheme limit has been increased from 4.5 to 9 lakh. So 39 lakh per person, a person can put into these assured return government, fairly high interest schemes to benefit the senior citizens. So, as a cohort, senior citizens have not really understood the market economy as well. So I think it's a little bit of a helping hand for them, that should you not want to go to, buying a mutual fund or putting money elsewhere, these schemes are still going to give a decent return. Therefore, the limits have been doubled.
Okay, Monica, lastly, I do need to ask you a question. This is my question. I let all the viewers ask their questions. I want to ask you, is it prudent and wise now, given how attractive the government is making the new tax regime, to migrate from the old one to the new one for everyone?
No, depends. It depends on who you are, your age, your stage, the kind of deductions you're taking. Like I said, for a person, maybe in your late 40s, 50s, you finished off with your home loan. You may not be in an organized sector job that you're claiming certain deductions. You do the math to see where you benefit. So this is going to be a purely calculation to see which regime benefits you more. And it isn't as if I don't think the rule is there that if you onboarded one, you can't come back. I'll have to read the tax rules right now to see whether you can move between the two. But definitely you should stay with the old if you think it is still better for you. So even for you personally, I think talk to your CA, do the maths to see are you taking all of the deductions. The other part is that it is far simpler not to do this whole mesh of I have this much of home loan, this much of medical deductions, this much of ATC, NPS. There is a cost in terms of time and also the professionals who you employ to do your taxes. So it's going to be a cost benefit of that. I'm always in favor of a simpler financial regime. So if my maths works out, I will move to the new one. But you should definitely get your CA to do the maths for you.
Monika, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you so much for taking my questions and taking our viewers' questions as well. Thank you very much. Good to have you on the show. Grateful for this. Bye. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay. So no budget is ever complete without the opposition parties trashing the finance minister. Happens every year. And this budget was